You're watching News Central now on News Central Television, and let's share with you, first of all, our top stories at this hour. The PDP kicks as candidate Monday Okpebholo wins Edo governorship election. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives New York for 79th UN General Assembly. And civil servants in Zimbabwe reject government salary adjustment offer. We'll bring you more details shortly. I am Osaogie Ogbawa. News Central now begins with the Edo State governorship election. The All Progressive Congress APC candidate, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has been declared the winner of the Edo State governorship election. He won 11 out of the 18 local government areas as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC. INEC's returning officer, Professor Farouk Adamu Kuta, revealed that APC won with 291,667 votes, while the People's Democratic Party PDP followed with 247,274 votes. Labour Party came third with 18,737 votes. The votes come from a total of 2.2 million voters with permanent voters' cards across the 18 local government areas and 4,519 polling units in Edo State.
Party LP, 22,763 votes. Party PDP, 247,274 votes. Bola Monday of APC, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed by the returning officer, Professor Farouk Adamu Kuta, this day, 22nd day of September 2024. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Edo State.
Meanwhile, Governor-elect of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, has reacted to his declaration as the winner of the Edo State governorship election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. In his victory speech, Okpebholo thanked the people of the state for choosing the right person for the job.
I'm here very happy, and I thank Edo people for choosing the right person for the job. Look, the new Edo is rising. I'm here to develop Edo. I want to transform Edo the way it should be. I want to tell you that I'm starting from where I'm socially stop, and I want to let you also know that I would like to emulate what Akpabio has done in Akwa Ibom State. Edo will receive a new transformation. By the grace of God, Edo is back again.
And Senator Adams Oshiomhole, the senator representing Edo North at the Senate, also reacted to the victory of the APC's candidate.
Very well. Everything and anything that God cannot do does not exist.
Thank you.
And that is why when ordinary men and women boast of their power, those with wisdom know that power resides only with God. And those who win it on the planet Earth are only the few that God has so anointed. And that is why when some people say election is a do or die, we say no. It's about choice, it's about celebration of the power of the ordinary citizen to hire and fire people who otherwise can even sign death sentence. Now, today, God by his infinite powers has decreed Senator Monday Okpebholo, alias Akpako Rescue. Some now call him Akpako Miracle because they don't need all of that to make up for the 8-year disaster of Obaseki and Aswe together. Yes. So on this day, first we give thanks to God Almighty that we did all those campaigns without casualty. That we did all those campaigns without any allegation against the candidate and any one of us for visiting violence on anyone. Even when they planned and they did succeed in killing his bodyguard in order to frighten him. God said, my son, who I have anointed, will not be frightened.
President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Senator Monday Okpebholo, the APC Congress candidate, on his victory in the Edo State governorship election. Senator Okpebholo was declared winner by INEC after defeating the candidates of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. President Tinubu praised APC leaders and governors for their efforts, calling the win a testament to the people's support for the party's economic reforms and commitment to progress. He urged Okpebholo to be humble in victory and unite Edo State. Tinubu also commended other candidates for their participation and the peaceful nature of the election and encouraged all grievances to be resolved legally. He praised INEC and security agencies for ensuring a smooth and credible election. Now, the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has also reacted to the conclusion of the polls.
My dear good people of Edo State, in the last few months, the various political parties have embarked on very rigorous campaigns to sell their respective candidates for the office of governor to the people of Edo State, in an exercise which came to a climax yesterday. The attractive thing about democracy is the power it bestows on the people to choose who governs them. Therefore, when this power is blatantly seized from the people, it is not just a tragedy, but a travesty of democracy. Regrettably, the outcome of the September 21st governorship election appears to have daunted the spirit of many Edo people who feel powerless in the face of the brute force of the institutions that are supposed to protect them. It is therefore understandable that many people feel sad and aggrieved. But in the midst of this despair, I'm urging all my fellow Edo citizens to maintain calm and not resort to violence and the destruction of property in spite of this provocation. Peace and justice will always win at the end, and this is my prescription to all the good people of Edo State who feel vexed and violated at this time. Clearly, it is obvious to the least discerning the amount of impunity and reckless disregard for processes and law that was displayed in this gubernatorial election. In a democracy, there are always safeguards for addressing grievances, and we hope that all those affected will seek resolution for this blatant disregard of law and process. With this in mind, I implore all Edo people to go about their lawful businesses and rest assured of the commitment of our government to your well-being and security. God bless the people of Edo State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Now, joining us in the news to discuss more on the outcome of the Edo State governorship election is the legal practitioner Henry Ekine. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Now, let's start with your general thoughts on the outcome of the Edo State governorship election, particularly with the APC's victory.
First, I think I will congratulate the residents and citizens and indigents of communities in Edo State. The elections have come, and then it's an opportunity for citizens to exercise their right. And that's the citizens have been able to do with some shortcomings, no doubt. And then for the political parties, I would say that it's been a contest. And then ultimately, in an election, it's expected that someone will be returned as elected, whether satisfied or dissatisfied by the other parties. That's a process that's come to a close. And then, of course, by our legislations, the legal frameworks with respect to election in this country, if you're dissatisfied with the outcomes of election, there's another process that begins. Then for the political party that has been returned, and then the candidate of that party declared the winner, congratulations to him. So in all, it's a test of our democracy. And then, of course, there are talking points for us to some sort assess the stakeholders in our electoral process. That is the commission itself, the security agencies, and then the political parties, and ultimately the people. So I think my general remarks would be that congratulations to the people of Edo State, and then particularly to the political party that is the All Progressives Congress, and then their candidate that has been declared winner of the election.
Yeah, a lot of people might find, issues with, the narrative, that it's an electoral process. Anybody who feels aggrieved should go to court, and that's what it is, because Yaga Africa and, of course, other observers pointed out, irregularities with the electoral process that may have stolen the election, somehow, some way from who the rightful winner should have been. And so, when we see things like this, is it simply a situation where we say congrats, and any other person who's aggrieved should go to court? Is that, a comfortable way to just leave it?
No, it's not. It's not. I mentioned that however flawed an electoral process may be perceived, there will be those who will be satisfied with the process. But ultimately, for those of us who would want the law to prevail, and then that we continually uphold the provisions of our laws, that is including the Electoral Act, and then the regulations that are made pursuant to that act by the Commission, then there can't be a better election except that complies with all of those provisions of the Act. So yes, on the one hand, like I said, for the political party that has been declared and returned the candidate, they feel satisfied. So congratulations to them. And then as I would say, someone objective outside of Edo State, to that extent that the Commission has concluded an election and then declared a candidate. But like I said, what is next is to review the process of the conduct of that election. And of course, the reports of the observers is clear that there are some kind of infractions and then some dissatisfaction that even the People's Democratic Party expressed before the final declaration of the winner of that election. So we have our process, the legal process to expressing that dissatisfaction, which is approaching the tribunal and then doing so within the provisions of the law, within the time, and providing all of the requirements, including canvassing your case appropriately before the tribunal when it's constituted and it's set up. And then, of course, proving electoral infractions, the decision of the courts have also shown that it's a bit extraneous, but that's what is next. But I dare say that we can't continue to conduct elections and then the observers will come with the kind of report that we've had in Edo State even before the declaration of the results. And then in other parts of the country with apparent disregard and then violation of provisions of the law, because the Electoral Act is clear with respect to electoral offenses, and then those conducts and acts of the stakeholders that are prohibited, that is the political parties, their supporters, citizens themselves, and security agencies. So when we continually hold elections and then we find that those provisions are disregarded, then we hardly would say that our elections have been free, fair, and credible. But to the extent that the Commission has announced the conclusion of that election and declared a winner, I think the next step is when the tribunals are set up.
Well, I mean, you make a good point. I think what I'm just repeatedly pushing back on is the fact that I think Nigerians want to have a process that they can truly trust. We currently have a huge trust deficit with the electoral body and also with the justice system. And so a lot of people will question these things. And it's not a comfortable place to simply go and manage the electoral process the way it is and go to court right after. But let's talk about the political landscape in Edo State now. The APC, the INEC, of course, declared that the APC won 11 out of 18 local government areas in Edo State. What does this say about the landscape in Edo State as it stands? The political landscape.
So the requirement for declaration of a candidate as a winner in an election is a matter of law, and then the proportion of the votes to be garnered by the candidate to be declared is an issue of law. A satisfaction of a minimum of 2/3 of the local governments in that state, and then not just winning the majority. And to the extent that the Commission has reviewed the outcome of those results and has held in that regard. But the landscape of the political landscape in Edo State is such that, for me, in the South, Edo has clearly demonstrated to be a very active, I wouldn't want to say volatile, but active in the sense that and the device on following the senatorial districts in Edo State, and then the strength and power of the political leaders in Edo State from the from the founding of the People's Democratic Party, late leader of that party at that time, and then in the person of Adams Oshiomhole, and even Onyegu, and they have a great number of strong political leaders in that state. So each time elections come in Edo State, then the controversies, the agitations, and then of course the assertions that the people have. But for this particular election, we will not forget the contestation that's been between the governor and his deputy. I say deputy here instructively as a lawyer because I do know that there has been a decision of the court that has upheld the subsistence of the deputy governor, Shuaibu of Edo State. Even if you have a matter on appeal, an appeal in law does not upturn a rather valid judgment. So the contestation that has been between Obaseki and Shuaibu has actually also shaped the political landscape in Edo State. And then with the involvement of Adams Oshiomhole and then those other political bigwigs in Edo State. I think right now moving forward is to see how, don't forget that Edo State has actually been an all progressives Congress state, even from the time of the ACN, that's the, ACN then, and then transmuted to the All Progressives Congress when Adams Oshiomhole was the governor. So it was only in the reign of, or rather the second term of Obaseki that the PDP actually held.
It became an ACN state in 2008 after Adams Oshiomhole's after the victory, of course, or the court rather overturned Osumbo's victory and handed it to Adams Oshiomhole. But prior to that, it was always a PDP state, you know, and so and
talk, yes, before Adams Oshiomhole.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, thank you.
Just for clarity. All right, Andrew, yeah, or just quickly wrap up, you know, so we can end the conversation.
Yeah, so I think that's very instructive, and especially now that the return by the commission has again established the stronghold of the All Progressives Congress. And then what is left is for the PDP to find its footing really in Edo State and in the South, where they probably have their strength. But particularly in Edo State, the PDP, I think, would have a bit of a struggle to find its footing again. Not to forget that Obaseki, that returned the power to PDP, like we said, after Ibenedion and then Professor Osaoni also, then he was in APC before he got to the PDP. So let us see in the days and months and years to come what the PDP will do in Edo State. I think that would be for me, my comment at the moment.
All right. Andre Kene, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. We'll speak with you pretty soon.
Thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure.
All right. Of course, you're still watching News Central now. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll share more news with you. Nigerians have been warned to clear canals, drainages, and gutters to mitigate floods. We also have more details on other stories after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in New York to represent Nigeria at the 79th United Nations General Assembly. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications from the Office of the Vice President, Stanley Nkwocha, made this known in a statement on Monday. According to Stanley, Shettima touched down at the John F. Kennedy International Airport, New York, in the early hours of Monday. As directed by President Bola Tinubu, Shettima would lead Nigeria's delegation to this year's UN General Assembly, deliver Nigeria's national statement, and participate in various high-level meetings. The 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly marks a crucial milestone in the global effort to accelerate progress towards the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Nigeria's federal government says that closing the communication gap between government and citizens regarding economic and policy issues is a key pillar in ensuring good governance. This was made known by officials of the federal government's Central Delivery Coordination Unit as it met with representatives of civil society organizations and officials of the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja. News Central's Joshua Imarai has more on this report.
In attendance at this engagement are top officials of the federal government Central Delivery Coordination Unit, Ministry of Finance, and representatives of civil society organizations in Nigeria. The event, a sensitization session at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja, is on the effective implementation of a quarterly citizens and stakeholder engagement exercise. Officials present say efforts aimed at closing the gap between the government and citizens regarding economic issues has been identified as a key necessity.
The essence of this citizen engagement is to let the citizen know what the administration is doing. The CDC, you have assigned priority areas which every minister signed on, and are reporting on it on quarterly basis.
The delivery manager of the Central Delivery Coordination Unit urged Nigerians to explore the Citizens Tracker app to keep them abreast of the latest economic policies, decisions of the government, and performance in achieving its key deliverables.
All the information you need, I'm sure you'll be able to get it there, and we have a 24-hour feedback response time. So whatever questions, observations, or comments you raise, we assure you that within 24 hours, you get a response from us. We may not have all the answers, so it will only take a longer time if we have to recourse to the ministry to give you the answers you seek.
Stakeholders at the event, however, called on the government to ensure proper digitization of their activities to avoid the spread of misinformation and fake news among citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Now, away from that, at least 6 persons who were held by the Department of State Services DSS over their roles in the protest over bad governance in Nigeria have been freed by the security agencies on Sunday. According to security sources, the 6 persons were freed last Thursday in Kaduna on the orders of the Director General of the DSS, Adeola Ajayi. According to the source on Sunday, 3 other suspects are, however, being processed by the agency for prosecution, having been found to have committed criminal offenses during the protest. Still in the news, troops from the Nigerian Army's 6th Division have neutralized 2 armed vandals involved in illegal oil bunkering during a gunfight and recovered 2 AK-47 rifles. 18 suspects were also arrested across the Niger Delta. The Army, in a statement by Lieutenant Colonel Jonah Danjuma, reported the destruction of 13 illegal refining sites, 7 boats, and the discovery of 8 illegal connection points. Over 60,000 liters of stolen products were seized. The operation followed intelligence on an attempted pipeline vandalism in River State, where troops engaged the criminals, killing 2 while others fled. Efforts are ongoing to track down the remaining suspects. And the federal government of Nigeria has appealed to citizens to clear their canals, drainages, and gutters to mitigate floods. A dam update report by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, NIHSA, on Sunday says the water levels at the nation's critical stations along the River Benue showed a steady increase towards flood levels. According to the statement signed by the head media and publicity, Loretta Samuel, on Sunday, the rise continues, but at flood preparedness levels. Samuel urged the 12 flood-prone states, earlier warned by NIHSA, to put measures in place to contain or allow conveyance. This comes after the recent overflow in the Alo Dam caused the worst flooding in Maiduguri, Borno State, in the history of Nigeria. And now we head to Borno State, where the devastating floods that has struck Maiduguri is now becoming history as the water has finally receded in most areas. Major cleanup efforts by residents to catch up on losses and businesses spring up amidst resilience and hope for better days. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes this report.
For many, everything is gone forever. Lives lost, properties destroyed, and the pain lingers. Yakubu Abubakar, News Central camera operator, had to meander through the flood with his aged mother and sister in the night to survive displacement alongside others at the NUJ Press Center.
Daren 10 ga watan Septemba mun ga tashin hankali. Don da fari muna ganin zuwan ruwan abun kamar ba zai yiwu ba haka dai da kaɗan har ruwan ya zo ya taru ya cika unguwa haka Allah ya kaddara zai faru. Wannan da kuke gani gidanmu ne nan ya rushe gashi na ɗakuna ne 3 a jere.
Life has to continue for many after witnessing the devastating flood that swept away half of Maiduguri city and affected more than 2 million persons. So many families had to resort to taking refuge at government camps or houses of loved ones.
Gaskiya ba zai kowa ma ce zai iya mai da asarar da yi ba don ga halin da ake ciki dama a ƙasan kuma wannan abin ya zo ya faru. Taimako kan mun samu taimako da yawa, wallahi taimako ta inda ba ma tsammani ba. Taimakon sun zo mana. Abin da mun dawo mun haƙura za mu ci gaba da gudanar da rayuwarmu.
Gaskiya kam alhamdulillah ala kulli halin amma mun jarabta sai dai dukkan wani abu da ya farko zai yi ƙarshe in kuma an yi haƙuri ubangiji zai kawo sauƙin wannan lamari.
Babbar kasuwa ce wanda ta tara al'umma dubbanin al'umma da baki da 'yan kasa duk anan ana kasuwa. Yau kuma alhamdulillah Allah ya kaddara kuduransa da ikonsa.
Garba Muhammad and other businessmen make clean-ups at their shops with the hope to grow better.
Yanzu muna kokari mu dan gyara waje mu share dan mu samu wajen neman cin abincin mu. Yau kusan kwana 10 kenan.
Abin da dai muka fita da shi daga ni har iyalaina har yarana sai kayan jikinmu sai kayan da muka dora shi nan. Amma kayan shago da kayan gida gaba ɗaya ruwa ya ɓata.
Here is the famous Gwange Bakin Gada, where both new and old tricycles are sold, now a shadow of itself.
12 dare da yake shiga gidanmu ina tosha da lamarin ya fi ƙarfi na sai na fita sai na kira masu gidanmu na ce to wannan ruwan fa ya fi ƙarfi na.
Wannan kasuwa tana ɗauke da mutum kimanin sama da mutum 500 wanda suke cin abinci a nan gurin. Wannan kasuwa mun tafka gagarumar asara ta dukiyoyinmu a wannan guri. Mun sa hannu biyu mun rungumi wannan kaddara da ta fada mana amma muna kira ga gwamnati da ta waiwaye mu ta dube mu ta shiga cikin wannan al'amari.
One thing is clear, while some local businesses in Maiduguri are slowly regaining their footing, other businessmen and women await the support from government and other organizations or individuals. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thanks to Moru Kirawa for that report. Now, coming up, heavy snowfall disrupts movement in KwaZulu-Natal and Free State in South Africa. We'll tell you more after this break. Stay with us. The news continues in Southern Africa, where civil servants representatives in Zimbabwe have rejected a cost of living adjustment offer presented by the government during a national joint negotiating council meeting on Friday. At the council meeting, the government proposed an offer that civil servants subsequently rejected. Currently, most civil servants in Zimbabwe earn just over $300 before deductions and approximately 2,000 Zimbabwean dollars. Meanwhile, teachers in the country say that they are depressed by working in conditions which is also causing mental health problems. Joining us in the news to discuss this is the national president of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, Obert Masararure. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. Help us describe the current state of the education system in Zimbabwe and, how it has been affected by the current economic crisis.
Yeah, things are extremely bad for the profession, and obviously the learners also suffer. The quality of the education also suffer. We have teachers who are suffering from maybe day-to-day because of underpayment. People have to borrow excessively to try to offset the cost of living. So we now have teachers who now earn as little as $30. Some don't even earn anything per month or $2 per month. because the bulk of the little they earn goes through servicing debt. So we have a situation where our teachers are in serious mental stress, but our government remains unshaken. They are not moved. We have been trying to lobby them for a very long time to address the salary crisis, but they are so reluctant. So what this means is the quality of our education is deteriorated. There's no meaningful teaching and learning taking place in most of our schools. The only learning that is available is for the rich who can afford then to pay an extra fee to the teacher. But only for those poor parents who cannot afford to pay an extra incentive to the teacher. The learners are just going to school, but they are not learning anything else. Whatever we then see in our pass rates is all fake, it's all manufactured just to give a semblance of normalcy. But everyone knows that the system is completely degenerated and there's absolute chaos in most of schools.
Paint a picture of what the salary scale is like for teachers in Zimbabwe, and how has inflation also affected the salaries of these teachers?
Yeah, so currently teachers are earning in US dollar terms as slightly around 300 US dollars. But in the local currency component, some will earn as little as 1,200 local component. But this one has been massively eroded by inflation. You recall that when our new currency was introduced, it was trading at $1 14 or so. But now it is short to the rate to $1 to up to 56. So what this means is that that the local currency component has been completely wiped out by inflation. So people are now solely relying on this USD component. But people should also appreciate that the cost of living in Zimbabwe is extremely higher than most of the countries in SADC. So, for example, if you're going to be comparing the cost of living in Zimbabwe to that of South Africa, our neighbor, it's slightly above 55%. Zimbabwe is slightly above 55% higher to live in Zimbabwe than compared to South Africa. But you look at the incomes of the teacher in South Africa and the teacher in Zimbabwe, the teacher in South Africa earns way higher than the teacher in Zimbabwe. So what this automatically means is that the Zimbabwean teacher is almost like a pop, and most of them are now living even on handouts for the basics. Their own children are dropping out of school. They are trapped debt. You find teachers also joining learners to eat what is available for the school feeding program because they cannot even afford to feed themselves. So this is how miserable the teacher's life has become because of underpayment. But in 2018 and before, they used to earn USD 540 when the cost of living was even lower than it is today. But these changes that have happened since the coming in of this current government of Emerson is reduced the teachers to serious.
Okay. All right, final question. I mean, just to confirm, you mean $300 per month, right?
Yeah, it's USD 300 per month.
Okay.
Per month,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, and then talk about this, the government salary adjustment offer, and why is it still not being accepted? Is it still seen as being inadequate? And tell us why that is.
Yeah, the government's offer really is a mockery. It's a joke because this is the same government which reduced our salaries from USD 540 at some point to about $30. Then they are increasing the amount in installments. What we have continuously demanded for at some time was the restoration of the 540 that we used to earn. And whatever we are receiving below, which is below 540, we don't treat it as an increment. It is just a mockery to the teachers of Zimbabwe. But again, the cost of living is now way beyond the 540. We are not demanding 1,260 because we are justified by the cost of living. Look, if you need rentals to just for a family of 4 or 5, you just need at least $300 to get accommodation. So before you even think of transport, school fees, for school fees of your own children, if you have 3 children who are in school, you will need on a monthly basis up to $800 per month. So the health care is something else. So we are not even asking for an amount which can give us space for savings, but just to cater for the basics. And government is told. But lastly, what is more important is that also the vehicle for negotiation that is being used by the government itself is not legally protected. The government is reneging from the constitutional provisions of the right to collective bargaining for all workers. And they are choosing a platform with the National Joint Negotiating Council, where they bring their friends who purport to represent at the worker side. So whatever outcome is going to be produced, was produced from a flawed process. Civil servants of Zimbabwe will continue to reject the outcome of the flawed process. So it is about the quantum of the offer and the process of producing, of coming up with that fee.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll see if, there's going to be any change of this policy by the government. And of course, they understand what these teachers are requiring. Thank you very much, Obert, for joining us and for sharing these perspectives with us.
You're welcome. That's great.
All right. Now, still in Southern Africa, in South Africa now, residents in KwaZulu-Natal and Free State provinces are struggling to clear roads after heavy snowfall on Saturday. This is according to the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Department of Cooperative Governance. Snowfall hit multiple provinces, including Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and the Eastern Cape, causing road blockages, field damage, and livestock losses. The N3 toll route remains closed between Tugela Plaza and Harry Smith with a 30-kilometer traffic backlog. Limited cell phone reception and abandoned vehicles have worsened the situation. Some ports of entry, including Sanipas, have been closed due to snow. Rescue efforts are underway, with 67 students stranded en route from Durban to Kwakwas safely evacuated. Government departments, police, and soldiers are working to clear roads and assist affected residents. Now we head to East Africa, where Sudanese Health Minister Haitham Mohamed Ibrahim has announced the start of a one-month campaign to tackle the cholera outbreak in the country. The campaign was launched following an urgent meeting of the Health and Humanitarian Emergencies Committee in Kassala. The campaign focuses on environmental sanitation, vaccination, vector control, and water purification. It also aims to raise public awareness about cholera prevention. So far, Sudan has recorded 12,896 cholera cases and 388 deaths, with 9 states affected, including Kassala, Khartoum, and the Red Sea. The Health Ministry attributed the outbreak to poor environmental conditions and contaminated water, worsened by the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, which has claimed over 16,650 lives since April 2023. We now head north, where Moroccan authorities have seized 8.1 tons of cannabis racine in the western port city of Safi. This is according to a statement by the Director General of National Security, DGSN. During the operation, 199 bales of cannabis were found hidden in a Morocco-registered freight truck intended for international shipment. 21 individuals, aged 24 to 48, were arrested for their involvement in the drug trafficking network. The operation followed weeks of intelligence gathering and surveillance. The suspects are now under judicial investigation. This seizure is part of Morocco's ongoing efforts to combat drug trafficking, with cannabis racine largely destined for Europe and the Middle East. Now let's tell you that UNICEF has installed a solar-powered water pumping system in Derna, eastern Libya, providing sustainable access to clean water for 25,300 people, including 7,590 children. The project, completed in partnership with Libya's General Company of Water and Wastewater, connects 5 boreholes to solar energy systems, reducing resilience on conventional power and ensuring a continuous eco-friendly water supply. This initiative strengthens local infrastructure, promotes sustainability, and enhances long-term water security for the community. Derna was severely impacted by Mediterranean storm Daniel last year, which caused devastating floods, killing thousands and destroying critical infrastructure. And now to stories in other parts of the world. Sri Lanka's first leftist president was sworn into office on Monday, vowing to restore public faith in politics after anger over the island nation's unprecedented economic crisis propelled him to a landslide poll win. Severe or self-avowed Marxist Anura Kamara of the People's Liberation Front, JVP, took his oath at the colonial-era presidential secretariat in Colombo after trouncing his nearest rivals in Saturday's vote. The previously fringe politician, whose party led two failed uprisings that left tens of thousands dead, saw a surge of support after the country's 2022 economic meltdown forced painful hardships on ordinary Sri Lankans. Disanayaka, 55, was sworn in by the Chief Justice in the ceremony attended by lawmakers, members of the Buddhist clergy, and the military, who sang the national anthem after the ceremony. Now, still outside the African continent, the Israeli military on Monday told people in Lebanon to move away from Hezbollah targets and vowed to carry out more extensive and precise strikes against the Iran-backed group. Military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said in a media briefing they advised that civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purposes, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their safety. This is a rare appeal made by the Israeli military to the people of Lebanon.
We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their own safety.
And now in sports, Nigeria made a remarkable entry on the global fencing scene over the weekend thanks to the impressive performance of 16-year-old Nkosi Bru, who won the country's first ever medal in the sabre category at the World Tonoi Satellite Cup in Iceland. The world number 67 ranked fencer clinched a silver medal after a hard-fought 9-15 victory against Iceland's Andre Mativ. Seeded number 5 for the event, Bro began his campaign in the round of 16, defeating Germany's Magnus de Witt 15-9. He continued his winning streak in the quarterfinals with a slim 15-13 win over Spain's Oriol Farre before facing his biggest hurdle in the semifinals against number 1 seed Cristoja Cortez of Ecuador in a tactical and intense match. Ultimately advancing to the final with a 15-14 win, president of the Nigerian Fencing Federation, Adeyinka Samuel, described Nkosi's feat as a significant achievement for Nigeria's fencing. And also in sport, former two-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has vowed to continue boxing despite his shocking defeat to Daniel Dubois in London on Saturday. Joshua's bid to become a three-time champion and return to the division's top table ended dramatically and unexpectedly, with Dubois dropping him several times at Wembley Stadium before he landed the final blow, a crunching right hand in round 5 that saw his English rival fall to the canvas for a 4th career loss, while Dubois retained his IBF belt. Joshua made an appearance at the post-fight news conference and insisted that he would continue to box as he eyes another fight. The British-Nigerian boxer went to the ground for the first time at the end of round 1 after Dubois landed a strong left jab on the 34-year-old, stunning the Wembley crowd. Joshua hailed his opponent for his outstanding performance. And also in sports, North Korea beat Japan 1-0 in the Under-20 Women's World Cup final on Saturday to win the biennial tournament for the 3rd time, joining Germany and the USA as the only 3-time champions at the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Chloe Il-sung opened the scoring in the 15th minute at the El Campín Stadium in Colombia, breaking through the defense from the edge and firing a shot in the penalty area. That goal was the winner of the match and Chloe's 6th in the tournament, allowing her to finish the competition as top scorer. North Korea were on an impressive run from the beginning of this year's World Cup, topping Group F with 3 wins and going on to beat Austria, Brazil, United States, and Japan in order in the knockout stage to finish the tournament with 7 wins, no draws, no losses. North Korea's World Cup title comes just 6 months after the country became champions at the AFC Under-20 Women's Asian Cup, where they also beat Japan in the final to secure victory. And also in sport, Matteo Gabbia fired AC Milan to a stunning late derby win over Inter Milan on Sunday with a bullet header which earned his team a 2-1 win and local bragging rights. Paulo Fonseca's side joined Inter on 8 points in 7th place, thanks to Gavia's late winner, which came after Federico Di Marco had leveled Christian Pulisic's brilliant 10th-minute individual effort just before the half-hour mark. Milan's win snapped Inter's run of consecutive derby victories at 6 and stopped their rivals from taking top spot in Serie A on goal difference ahead of surprise early league leaders Torino. Sunday's win will give Milan some belief after a difficult start to the campaign, which put pressure on the new coach Fonseca. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. PDP kicked as APC candidate Monday Okpebholo wins Edo governorship election. And Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived New York for the 79th United Nations General Assembly. And civil servants in Zimbabwe have rejected government's salary adjustment offer. Remember to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Osaogie Ogbawa.